Welcome to my channel Liberty Old Coin exciting deep dive into the pocket change you probably walk past every single day. Have you ever stopped to consider that the small pile of coins sitting in your car's cup holder or gathering dust in an old jar on your dresser might actually be a hidden gold mine? First up, let's set the stage for this specific treasure. We are talking about the 1970 Canadian 5-cent coin, the one made of nickel. Now, when I say this coin is most valuable, I need you to understand that this isn't always about retiring to a private island on a whim. This is a story about condition, about rarity, and about the tiny details that separate a regular coin from a collector's dream. The beaver on the back, proudly building its dam, has been a symbol of Canada for decades, but on the 1970 issue, it holds a secret that many people simply are not aware of. We are going to peel back the layers of history and value to see what makes this particular year so special. To understand the value, we must first understand the context of the era. The year 1970 was a fascinating time for metals, and it directly impacts why this coin is so intriguing today. A 1977 article from the New York Times painted a bleak picture of the international nickel market during that period. It noted that in the peak year of 1970, nickel prices were astronomically high, around $9 per pound. This is crucial because our coin is made of nickel. The Royal Canadian Mint was striking these coins when the raw material itself was incredibly valuable, which adds a layer of historical significance to the piece you are holding. Now, let's get down to the nitty-gritty details of the coin itself. The 1970 nickel features the classic portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the front, wearing her tiara, a design by Arnold Machin. On the reverse, you have the iconic image of a beaver on a log, a design by G. E. Kruger Gray that has been a staple of Canadian coinage. It weighs in at 4.54 grams and measures 21.21 millimeters in diameter. But the magic isn't just in the standard issue. It's in the survival of these coins in pristine condition. The mint produced over 5.7 million of these coins for circulation, which sounds like a lot, but how many of them survived in perfect, untouched condition? Very few. This is where the value really starts to heat up, my friends. The average well-worn 1970 nickel that has been jangling around in pockets for 50 years is only worth its melt value, which is currently sitting at just around 12 cents. You might find a circulated one in extremely fine condition, showing very little wear, that could be valued at about 15 cents to 30 cents in British pounds, which translates to a very modest amount in dollars. But that is not why you are here. You are here for the big score, and the big score lies in the uncirculated, mint state specimens. When a coin is graded by professional services, the numbers tell a very different story. A 1970 nickel in MS64, mint state 64, condition can be valued at around $5.60 in pounds, which is a nice little bump. But look at the jump to MS66. We are talking about values soaring to approximately $110 in pounds. And remember, these are prices from one of the most respected numismatic databases available. We are looking at a potential value increase from 5 cents to over $100, all because the coin has zero wear and maintains its original mint luster. That is the power of condition. But wait, it gets even better. We aren't just talking about business strike coins here. There are special versions of this coin that were never intended for circulation. These are known as specimen or proof-like finishes. One price guide lists the value of a 1970 nickel 5 cents, proof-like at a flat 50 cents, but that is a generic catalog value. In reality, when these perfectly struck coins with their mirror-like surfaces are certified and graded, they can command a premium, especially if they are in top-tier condition. You have to look beyond the basic catalog numbers. I want you to really imagine finding one of these. You are at a flea market, or you are going through your grandfather's old coin collection, and you see a 1970 nickel. It isn't dull and grey. It is bright, shiny, and the details on the beaver's fur are razor-sharp. You could be holding a coin that, in the highest certified grades, is worth a small fortune. While we don't have a specific auction record for a top-graded 1970 nickel, the price trajectory from MS65 at around $14 to MS66 at $110 shows us the potential. Imagine if you found one graded MS67 or higher, the value could easily multiply again. And let's not stop there. The real unicorns in the world of coin collecting are the errors. While we have records of minor errors like die deterioration on the 1975 cent piece, The most dramatic examples come from other denominations from the same year, showing us what is possible. For instance, a 1970 Canadian 50-cent coin that was struck on the wrong type of metal planchette, an off-metal error, sold at auction for a staggering $1,800. This proves that when a coin from 1970 has something dramatically wrong with it, in the best way possible, collectors will pay astronomical prices. So, when you look at your 5-cent coin, look for something off. Is the date doubled? Is the strike misaligned? Now, I want to talk about why you need to be excited about this. The 1970 Canadian nickel represents a perfect storm of collectability. You have a historic metal, a classic design, and a mintage number that, while high, is being whittled down by time. Every day, these coins get lost, damaged, or melted down. The supply of high-grade, original examples is shrinking. This is basic economics. As supply decreases and demand from collectors who need this date to complete their sets remains constant or increases, prices go up. You are not just holding a coin, you are holding a piece of history that is becoming rarer by the minute. I want you to think about the maximum value. What is the ceiling for this coin? Based on the data we see, if you were to find a perfect, certified 1970 nickel in the highest possible grade of MS67 or MS68, with full original luster and no distracting marks, you could easily be looking at a value that surpasses the $110 mark by a significant margin. We are talking about a coin that could be worth $200, $300, or even more to the right collector who needs that final piece for their registry set. The maximum value is not a fixed number. It is a dream waiting for the right coin to be discovered. I must address the naysayers who will tell you that a 1970 nickel is just a nickel. They will look at the mintage of millions and scoff. But they don't understand numismatics. They don't understand that condition is king. A worn-out, common 1970 nickel is indeed just a nickel. But a gem, uncirculated example is a trophy. The difference between a common coin and a valuable one is often just a matter of a few points on a grading scale, a difference so small that only a trained eye can see it. That is the nuance that creates value. Let's talk about the why behind the value. Why would anyone pay $100 for a 5-cent coin? It's the thrill of the hunt. It's the history. It's the art. Collectors are not buying the metal, they are buying the preservation of a moment in time. They are buying a piece of 1970 that has been frozen perfectly for over 50 years. This coin is a time capsule. It represents the craftsmanship of the mint, the reign of a beloved queen, and the enduring symbol of Canada, the beaver. You are paying for a story. So, I want you to go on a treasure hunt right now. Go to your piggy bank. Look in that old coffee can in the garage. Check under the sofa cushions. Find every 1970 Canadian nickel you can. Then, look at them under bright light. Are they shiny? Can you see the fine lines in the beaver's fur and the details in the queen's hair? If you have one that looks like it was made yesterday, you need to protect it. Put it in a soft cloth or a plastic sleeve. Do not clean it. Cleaning a coin destroys its value. Your next step is to get it professionally graded. Companies like ICCS, International Coin Certification Service, in Canada are the experts. They will slab your coin in a protective holder and give it a grade. That grade is the key that unlocks the true value. A raw, ungraded coin might sell for a fraction of what a certified one will. You are leaving money on the table if you don't take this step. The $110 value for an MS66 coin is for a certified, graded example. In conclusion, the 1970 Canadian nickel is a sleeping giant in the world of coin collecting. It is a testament to the fact that value is everywhere if you have the knowledge to see it. It isn't always the oldest coin or the one made of gold that is the most valuable. Sometimes, it is the modest nickel with the beaver on it, waiting patiently in the dark for someone to recognize its true worth. You now have that knowledge. You know the history, you know the context of the nickel market, and you know the values. The only thing left is to go out there and find your treasure. Next coin, the 1977 Canadian 5-cent coin, bearing the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, is a fascinating piece of pocket change that often goes unnoticed, but for those in the know, it represents a hidden opportunity. This coin was struck during a remarkable period in Canadian history, a time when the very metal it is made from was at the center of an international economic drama. To truly understand the potential of this small beaver-backed coin, we must first travel back to 1977 and look at the world through the lens of the nickel market. In 1977, the international nickel market was in a state of severe depression, a stark contrast to the boom years of the early 1970s. Newspapers like the New York Times were running stories with grim titles like "Nickel Inventories Not Worth a Dime" and "Canadian Nickel Center is Shaken by Market Slump." The world's largest producer, Inco Limited, saw its market share plummet, and massive stockpiles of the metal were piling up. Prices had fallen to painfully low levels, around $2.15 a pound, a far cry from the $9 per pound seen in 1970. This economic context is the backdrop against which every 1977 nickel was born, a fact that adds a layer of historical depth to the coin you might have in your pocket. This was a time of uncertainty in Sudbury, Ontario, the heart of Canada's nickel mining industry. Mines were closing temporarily, and thousands of workers were facing layoffs. The Royal Canadian Mint continued to strike 5-cent pieces, but the economic climate meant that the public was holding onto their money, and the condition of the coins that survived became a crucial factor for their future value. The coin itself features the classic portrait of a younger Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse, designed by Arnold Machin, and the iconic Canadian beaver on a rock on the reverse, a design by G. Kruger Gray that has been a staple of the nation's coinage for generations. Now, let's address the question that is likely burning in your mind. Is this coin valuable? The answer is a resounding yes, but the level of value is entirely dependent on one single factor: condition. A standard, well-worn 1977 nickel that has been circulating for over 4 decades is, in its raw form, not worth a fortune. It is a common date with a substantial mintage. However, the moment you find one in exceptional, untouched condition, the game changes entirely. The difference between a few cents and a handsome profit is simply a matter of preservation. The maximum value you can achieve with a 1977 5-cent coin lies in its special varieties and its state of preservation. For instance, the proof-like versions of this coin, which were struck with special care and have mirror-like fields, are where the real money sits. According to professional numismatic pricing guides, the value for a 1977 nickel 5 cents in proof-like condition can range dramatically. While a standard example might be catalogued at a base level, the high end of the spectrum for these specially produced coins reaches an impressive $34. This is a far cry from its 5-cent face value. Think about that for a moment. A coin that you could literally find on the sidewalk could be worth $34. That is the power of numismatics. The $34 value represents the maximum potential for a standard proof-like issue in top-tier, certified condition. It is a target, a goal for collectors who are searching for the finest example to complete their sets. This value is not assigned to the common, beat-up coin. It is reserved for the gem that was kept safe, perhaps in an old collection or a forgotten drawer, for nearly 50 years. But what about the regular business strike coins, the ones that were made for everyday use? Their future value is equally promising, especially if they are in mint state condition. While precise pricing for the highest grades of the 1977 nickel requires looking at auction records, we can look at other denominations from the same year to understand the potential. A 1977 Canadian 10-cent coin in a perfect PCGS-PL 68 grade recently sold at auction, demonstrating that collectors are actively seeking out pristine examples from this year. Furthermore, consider the 1977 Canadian dollar coin. A superb gem uncirculated example, certified as MS66 by ICCS, is valued at nearly $250. Why? Because of its low mintage and the difficulty of finding it in perfect condition, as most were banged up in canvas bags. This is the exact principle that applies to the 5-cent piece. The 1977 nickel had a substantial mintage of over 89 million pieces. However, just like the dollar coins, most of these were handled roughly. Finding one that escaped the bruises and maintains its original mint luster is the key to unlocking significant value. The future is incredibly bright for the 1977 nickel. As the years go by, the number of high-quality, uncirculated examples will only decrease. Coins get lost, damaged, or simply worn down from handling. This natural attrition makes the surviving gems rarer and rarer. The collectors of tomorrow will be competing for the best examples of today, driving prices upward. Your 1977 nickel, if it is a beauty, is not just a coin. it is an investment in a piece of Canadian history that is becoming more scarce with each passing year. Imagine the thrill of holding a coin that is not just currency, but a time capsule. This coin was made in Ottawa, at the Royal Canadian Mint, during the Silver Jubilee year of Queen Elizabeth II. It is made of solid nickel, a metal with a rich and tumultuous history. When you look at it under a bright light, if the luster is still there, if the beaver's fur is sharp and the Queen's portrait is crisp, you are looking at a potential windfall. The current maximum you could sell it for, if it is a top-tier proof-like example, sits at that $34 mark today. But that $34 is a floor for the future, not a ceiling. As more collectors enter the market and the demand for pristine Canadian coins from the 1970s grows, prices will inevitably rise. A coin that is worth $34 today could easily be worth double or triple that in the next decade, especially if it is certified by a professional grading service. Certification is the gold standard. It gives a buyer confidence and validates the condition that makes your coin special. The real treasure hunt is on your hands right now. You have the knowledge to see beyond the face value. You now understand that a 1977 nickel is more than just 5 cents. It is a piece of the 1977 nickel market slump, a relic from an era of economic challenge in Canada, and a potential star in a collector's album. The maximum price you can achieve today is a tangible goal, but the potential for growth is the real story. This is your call to action. Go through your change. Look in that old jar on your dresser. Check your childhood coin collection, or ask your relatives if they have any old coins stashed away. Search specifically for the 1977 Canadian 5-cent piece. When you find one, examine it. Is it shiny and bright, or is it dull and worn? If it looks like it could have been made yesterday, you have found a potential treasure. Protect it in a non-PVC plastic flip and do not clean it, as cleaning destroys the very surface that gives it value. The next step is to consider professional grading. Services like ICCS, International Coin Certification Service, in Canada can assess your coin and give it a grade. That grade is the key that can turn your $34 coin into a documented, saleable asset. A raw, ungraded coin might be met with skepticism, but a certified coin in a sealed holder commands respect and top dollar. In conclusion, the 1977 Canadian 5-cent coin is a sleeping giant. It is a testament to the idea that value is everywhere, hiding in plain sight. It is not always the oldest coin or the one made of gold that holds the greatest promise. Sometimes, it is the humble nickel, waiting quietly for someone with knowledge and a keen eye to recognize its true worth. You now possess that knowledge. The maximum value is waiting to be claimed. So, get hunting. The thrill of discovery is real, and the potential reward is far greater than a trip to the candy store. You are looking for a coin that could be worth $34 or more today, with a future that looks even brighter. Every 1977 nickel you see is a possibility, a story waiting to be told. Make sure it is your story. Go find that gem, and let the coin be the one that got away, but in reverse. Let it be the one you found and held on to. Happy hunting, and may your pockets be filled with hidden treasures. Second coin, the 1978 Canadian 5-cent coin, featuring the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, is a remarkable piece of pocket change that deserves your immediate attention. This coin represents a fascinating moment in Canadian minting history, struck during a period when the Royal Canadian Mint was producing millions of these little beaver-backed treasures for a growing nation. The 1978 nickel carries with it the legacy of a country celebrating its identity, and for those who know what to look for, it could represent a significant financial opportunity hiding in plain sight. The Royal Canadian Mint produced this coin in Ottawa, Canada, as part of the ongoing series of 5-cent pieces that have featured the iconic beaver design since 1922. This particular issue was struck to meet the commercial demands of a thriving Canadian economy in the late 1970s. The obverse features the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II wearing a tiara, designed by the renowned artist Arnold Machin, while the reverse showcases the industrious beaver on a log, a design by G. Kruger Gray that has become one of the most recognized symbols in Canadian coinage. The composition of the 1978 5-cent coin is solid nickel, weighing exactly 4.54 grams with a diameter of 21.21 millimeters. This nickel composition gives the coin its characteristic silvery appearance and makes it magnetic, a useful feature for authentication. The edge is plain and smooth, and the coin features medal alignment, meaning both sides face the same direction when you flip it vertically. These technical specifications remained consistent with the 5-cent pieces struck throughout the late 1960s and 1970s. Now let me address the question that brought you here today. How many people want to buy this coin? The answer might surprise you. There is a passionate and growing community of Canadian coin collectors who actively seek out high-grade examples of the 1978 nickel. Numismatic experts and grading services regularly track demand for these coins, and auction houses consistently see competitive bidding for certified examples. The market for Canadian coins has expanded significantly in recent years, with collectors from around the world showing increasing interest in well-preserved specimens from this era. The current value of the 1978 5-cent coin varies dramatically based on one critical factor: condition. A typical circulated coin that has spent decades jingling in pockets and purses has a melt value of approximately 12 cents based on its nickel content alone. This represents the absolute minimum value, the baseline below which no coin should ever fall. Heavily worn specimens in grades from good to extremely fine are valued between 10 cents and 25 cents, barely above their melt value. But this is where the story gets exciting. When we move into the realm of mint state coins, the values begin their remarkable ascent. An MS-60 example, showing minimal wear with perhaps some bag marks, commands around 25 cents. At MS-62, we see values rising to 50 cents. MS-63 brings us to $1.80. MS-64 jumps significantly to $7.60. At MS-65, we reach $22.40. But the real magic happens at the highest grades. An MS-66 1978 5-cent coin is valued at an impressive $120, while the pinnacle grade of MS-67 commands an extraordinary $130. This represents a 2,600-fold increase from its original face value. Let me share some real-world auction data that proves these values are not just theoretical. A 1978 Canadian 5-cent coin, certified by ICCS, International Coin Certification Service, at MS-64 grade, was sold at auction as part of a 7-coin lot. The entire lot, which included several other dates, achieved a selling price of $47 Canadian at auction, demonstrating that collectors are actively paying real money for these certified specimens. Another auction featured a 1978 coin certified at MS-65, sold alongside other dates, with the lot achieving $35 Canadian. These are actual transactions, real money changing hands for coins that many people might dismiss as mere pocket change. The question of whether the value is really high or low depends entirely on perspective. For the average person pulling a worn 1978 nickel from their pocket, the value is indeed modest. But for the collector who has invested in professional grading and sought out pristine examples, the value is remarkably high. The difference between a common circulated coin and a gem uncirculated specimen is the difference between pocket change and a 3-figure sum. The maximum known value of $130 for an MS-67 example is not just high. It represents the kind of return on investment that makes coin collecting so thrilling. The mintage figures tell an important part of this story. The Royal Canadian Mint struck an enormous 137,079,273 5-cent coins in 1978 for circulation. At first glance, this massive number might suggest that the coin is common and therefore less valuable. However, experienced collectors understand that high mintage does not equal high survival rates in pristine condition. Of those 137 million coins, how many survived for 47 years without entering circulation? How many were stored carefully, protected from the wear and tear that destroys mint luster and sharp details? Beyond the regular circulation strikes, the Royal Canadian Mint also produced special versions of the 1978 5-cent coin for collectors. These include uncirculated and specimen finishes, which were struck with greater care and often packaged separately for sale to numismatists. These special issues command their own premium values. The NBU, brilliant uncirculated, versions, graded at NBU 67, are valued at £14.60 according to some price guides. Specimen strikes at SP 67 reach £14.10. These represent coins that were never intended for circulation, preserved in their original mint condition. The market for the 1978 5-cent coin is robust and active. Collectors seeking to complete date sets of Canadian coinage need this year to finish their collections. Registry set participants compete fiercely for the highest graded examples to improve their rankings. RareCoin enthusiasts search for unusual varieties that might have escaped the mint's quality control. This diverse demand creates a healthy marketplace where quality examples find ready buyers willing to pay premium prices. Professional grading is the key that unlocks the true value of your 1978 nickel. A raw, ungraded coin, even if it appears beautiful to the naked eye, will always sell for less than a certified example sealed in a holder from a reputable service like ICCS or NGC. The grading process provides an unbiased assessment of the coin's condition, giving buyers confidence in their purchase. The auction results I shared earlier demonstrate this clearly. Certified coins sell, and they sell for real money. The history embedded in this coin adds intangible value that resonates with collectors. This coin was struck during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, a monarch whose portrait has appeared on Canadian coinage for decades. The beaver design connects modern Canada to its fur trade heritage, a symbol of industry and perseverance. The year 1978 itself represents a specific moment in Canadian history, a time of economic challenges and national development. Owning a pristine example of this coin is like owning a tiny time capsule from that era. Let me address the future potential of this coin. As the years pass, the supply of high-grade 1978 nickels will only decrease. Coins get lost, damaged, or simply deteriorate from environmental exposure. The 137 million coins minted are slowly disappearing from the collectible market. Meanwhile, the number of collectors continues to grow, creating increasing demand for a shrinking supply of quality examples. This fundamental economic principle suggests that the values we see today, impressive as they are, may represent only the beginning. The maximum price you could achieve for a 1978 5-cent coin today stands at $130 for an MS67 certified example. This is the documented value from reliable numismatic sources, representing what a collector might reasonably expect to pay for the finest known specimens. But remember, prices in the coin market are dynamic, and exceptional examples can sometimes exceed guide values when they appear at auction with strong competition among determined bidders. I want you to imagine the thrill of finding one of these high-grade specimens. You might be going through a jar of old coins, sorting through pocket change, or exploring a relative's collection. You spot a 1978 nickel that looks different. It's bright and shiny, with no visible wear on the beaver's fur or the queen's portrait. The luster radiates from the surface, and the details are razor-sharp. You could be holding a coin worth $120 or even $130, all from a 5-cent piece that cost someone a nickel 47 years ago. Lost coin, the small change jangling in your pocket or sitting in that old jar on your dresser. You probably walk past it every day without a second glance, but I am here to tell you that a specific coin, the Canadian 5-cent piece from the year 2000, is one of the most misunderstood and potentially valuable assets hiding in plain sight. This is not just a piece of metal, it is a piece of history, a snapshot of a nation in transition, and for a lucky few, it is a ticket to a significant payday. We are going to dive deep into the story of this coin, uncover the secrets that separate a 5-cent spend from a $500 windfall, and guide you on exactly what to do if you think you have a winner. First, we have to understand what this coin represents historically. The year 2000 was a pivotal moment for the Royal Canadian Mint. 4 decades, the 5-cent coin, affectionately known as the nickel, had been made from a cupronickel alloy. But as we entered the new millennium, the economics of coin production were changing. The price of metals was fluctuating, and the mint was experimenting. This means that in 2000, there are actually 2 distinct types of 5-cent coins in circulation, and telling them apart is the first step toward understanding their value. The first type, and the one you will find most commonly, looks and feels like the classic nickel. It features the iconic beaver on the reverse, designed by G.E. Kruger Gray, sitting proudly on a log emerging from the water. On the front, we have the mature portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Dora de Pederer-Hunt, wearing her diamond crown. This version is made from a traditional cupronickel blend, 75% copper and 25% nickel. It weighs in at 4.6 grams and is non-magnetic. Over 105 million of these were struck for circulation, so finding one is easy, but finding one in pristine condition is the real trick. But then, there is the other 2005-cent coin, and this is where things get interesting. This version carries a tiny P mint mark on the obverse, right by the Queen's portrait. That P stands for plated, and it signals a radical shift in technology. This coin is made from a core of steel, plated first with nickel and then with copper. It is slightly lighter, at 3.95 grams, and crucially, it is magnetic. If you put a magnet to it, it will stick. This was an experiment to reduce costs, and only about 4.9 million of these P versions were minted for circulation. In the world of coins, lower mintage almost always equals higher potential value. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, the value. You might look at a price guide and see that a regular, worn-out 2000 nickel is worth exactly 5 cents, or about 3 pence if you are looking at UK conversion rates. An average coin in about uncirculated condition might fetch $1 or $2. So why am I standing here telling you this is valuable? Because we are not looking for average. We are looking for perfection. We are looking for errors. We are looking for the specific conditions that turn copper and nickel into gold. The maximum value for a standard 2005-cent coin comes down to one word: condition. In the numismatic world, this is graded on the Sheldon scale from 60 to 70 for uncirculated coins. A standard 2000 nickel in mint state 60, which is a nice coin but might have some bag marks, is worth about 15 cents, or roughly 15 pence. But as the quality goes up, the price explodes. At MS63, we are talking about 50 pence. At MS65, that same coin jumps to nearly £13. And at MS66, we are looking at almost £35. This is for a coin that 105 million of were made. The lesson here is that if you have a flawless gem, the market will pay a massive premium. But if you really want to feel your heart race, we need to look at that P mint mark variety. Remember, there are only 4.9 million of these, making them significantly rarer than their non-magnetic cousins. In high grade, these coins are absolute monsters. A standard uncirculated P nickel at MS63 is worth about £1.65. By the time you get to MS65, it is worth over £17. But hold on to your hats, because at MS66, the value skyrockets to £154. And if, and this is a massive if, you happen to have one graded at MS67, we are talking about a coin worth over £413. From a 5-cent piece to over £400, that is the dream we are chasing today. However, the path to £400 is not just about high grade. It is about errors. The minting process is a ballet of precision, and sometimes, the dancers trip. When they do, they create coins that collectors will pay a fortune to own. The community of error coin collectors has documented several fascinating mistakes on the 2005-cent piece. Imagine finding a coin where the beaver looks perfect, the queen looks perfect, but the date is missing, or the mint mark is in the wrong place. These are the coins that make headlines. One of the most documented errors for this year is the double obverse on the P variety. This is where the image of the queen is stamped twice, slightly offset, creating a ghostly, overlapping effect. It is a dramatic and highly collectible error. These don't come up for sale often, but when they do, they command prices far exceeding the standard grading values. We are potentially looking at hundreds, if not thousands, of pounds for a dramatic, certified error like this. Imagine finding a coin where the queen has two profiles. That is not a defect, that is a paycheck. There are other, more subtle errors to watch for. The community has reported a spike above queen error, where a small, sharp line of metal protrudes from the portrait. Others have found dots on the reverse of the coin, little bumps of extra metal that shouldn't be there. These are classified as miscellaneous errors, and their value is determined by how prominent they are and how desperate a collector is to complete their set. If you find one, you haven't just found a coin, you've found a one-of-a-kind piece of art. So, how do you know if you have a winner sitting at home? You need to become a detective. First, grab a magnifying glass. A jeweler's loupe is even better. Look at the obverse, the side with the queen's face. Is there a tiny P right there, on the bust, usually near the bottom? If yes, you are already in the rare club. If not, don't despair. You just have a much tougher road to perfection. Next, look at the fields, the blank spaces around the queen and the beaver. Are they perfectly smooth like a mirror, or are they scratched and marked? Any marks, no matter how small, kill the value for the top tiers. The most critical tool in your arsenal is a magnet. Go to your fridge and grab one. If the coin sticks, it is the scarcer P version. If it doesn't stick, it's the regular QueenElizabethII coin. This simple test takes 2 seconds and immediately tells you which value chart you should be looking at. Don't skip this step. It is the gatekeeper to understanding what you truly have. And while you have that magnifying glass, check the date. Make sure it is 2000. Look for any doubling, any weird spacing, any extra metal. You are looking for the factory mistake that slipped past quality control. Now, let's talk about preservation. If you think you have a winner, do not, under any circumstances, clean it. I will say that again. Do not clean it. Scrubbing a coin with polish or soap is the fastest way to turn a £400 coin into a 50p coin. Collectors want the original surface, the mint luster. They want to see the tiny flow lines from the striking process. Cleaning destroys all of that. Handle it by the edges, with clean cotton gloves if you have them. Your skin oils are acidic and will leave fingerprints that can etch into the metal over time. Once you have identified a potential gem, you need to protect it. The maximum value can only be obtained if the coin is in a protective, inert environment. You should seal it, but not in just any old plastic wrapper. PVC plastic, the soft kind found in some old folders, will actually damage the coin over time, leaving a green sludge. You need to use mylar flips or acrylic holders specifically designed for coins. This sealing is not just about storage, it's about preservation and presentation. Where can you sell this treasure? You have options, and the choice you make will impact your final payout. If you walk into a local coin shop or a place like Canada Gold, you are opting for speed and convenience. They will give you an on-the-spot offer, which is great if you need cash immediately. However, remember that they are a business. They need to buy low enough to sell to another collector at a profit. You will likely get wholesale prices, which are lower than the CPG or grey sheet retail values you see online. For the best chance at maximum value, you need to go directly to the collector market. Online platforms like eBay are the modern-day frontier for coin selling. You can see what similar coins have actually sold for, not just what they are listed for, but the sold prices. This gives you real-world data. If you have a certified, graded coin from NGC or PCGS, you can also approach specialized auction houses like Numismatics in Toronto, who deal specifically in high-quality material and can connect you with serious bidders.